You wake up, gasping. Your breath curls like smoke in the frozen air. Something's wrong. The sky is the wrong color, heavy and gray, like it's been holding its breath for 10,000 years. You sit up. The ground is jagged rock and packed snow. You're barefoot. Your skin is blue with cold. Your fingers are stiff, cracked, bleeding. Around you, nothing. No roads, no buildings. No sound but the wind and the distant howls of something large. You turn in every direction. There's no sign of life, no clothes, no phone, no fire, just a horizon of ice. And in the distance, a shadow moves. Big, four-legged, watching. You run. You don't know where or how long, but your lungs burn and your feet split open on the frozen earth. You slip. You fall. The cold takes your breath away. This isn't a nightmare. This is real. This is the Paleolithic Era, and you're not going to survive it. Out here, you are meat. Roughly 2.5 million years ago, humanity began its long, brutal journey in what we now call the Paleolithic Era, the Old Stone Age. But don't let the name fool you. There's nothing soft about this world. No agriculture, no permanent homes, no warmth. Just bands of humans struggling to stay alive one day at a time, and dying by the thousands when they couldn't. It's a world where survival depends on the sharpness of your stone tool and the heat of your last fire. A world where being alone is a death sentence, and even being with a tribe doesn't guarantee safety. Every sound in the dark could be a predator. Every mouthful of food could be your last, and every step you take could land you in a trap, a ravine, or the jaws of something older, faster, and hungrier than you. Now imagine dropping into that world. No training, no weapons, no food. No idea what direction is safe. In this video, you're not a tourist, you're prey. You're going to experience the Paleolithic Era not through textbooks, but through terror. You'll feel the hunger, the cold, the desperation. You'll meet the creatures that ruled before us, and you'll understand, painfully, why almost no modern human could survive here for even a few days. Because this is more than history. This is a death sentence with no warning. Let's begin your descent with the first thing your body can't handle. The cold that never ends. You open your eyes to white. Not the kind from dreams, but the kind that stings. The kind that blinds. The kind that kills. Snow falls in sheets, sideways. Whipped by a prehistoric wind that screams across an open tundra, as if mourning the millions who've already died here. You can't see more than a few feet in any direction, but it doesn't matter. There's nowhere to go. No road, no compass, no civilization. You're barefoot, Your skin is already raw and cracking, and you're wrapped in nothing but a loose, half-frozen strip of fur. You were likely unconscious when it was thrown on you, either by someone in your tribe or by a stranger who didn't care if you lived, only that you left. Or maybe no one helped at all. Maybe you just woke up here, alone. The Paleolithic doesn't owe you answers. Your body goes into shock almost instantly. It's glacial, sub-zero, lethal. Your breath turns to ice the second it hits the air. Your fingers start to stiffen. Your lips split and bleed when you try to call out. You're not just uncomfortable. You're dying quietly and fast. You try to move. Every step sends a jolt of pain through your soles as your skin tears on jagged ground hidden beneath the snow. The muscles in your thighs seize. The cold crawls inside you, past the skin, past the fat, into the bone. You can feel it filling you like water into a sinking ship. You stumble forward, hoping for shelter, even though you don't know what shelter looks like out here. A tree, a cave, a hollowed-out animal carcass. There's no logic in your movement, only desperation. And then a howl. Long, low, not human. You freeze. Your eyes scan the horizon. Nothing but swirling white. But you're not alone. You know that now. Something out there sees you, smells you, follows you. You were dropped into a world where you are not the top predator. Out here, you are slow, soft, and unfamiliar with every rule of survival that ancient humans lived by. You're a liability, a snack. Your mind flashes to all the survival videos you've seen. But this isn't a controlled environment. There's no cameraman, no backup plan, no flint, no steel, no Bear Grylls behind the tree. It's just you, nature, and death, circling closer. Suddenly, you see it, a mound in the distance, covered in snow, but still visible. You drag yourself toward it. As you approach, the mound becomes a shape, a human body, frozen, face down, half buried. The legs are twisted unnaturally. The hand is outstretched, fingers shattered by frostbite. You kneel beside it, trembling, not in sadness, but calculation. They're wearing something, animal hide. You tug at it. The skin gives a little. It's stiff as wood, frozen to the corpse. You pull harder. Your fingers slip. A patch tears loose. It's not enough to save you, but it's something. Something warm, or at least less cold. You drape it around your shoulders. You don't know this person's name, what tribe they were from, or how long they'd survived. But you know one thing, you're next. As you sit beside the body, shaking, you notice tracks. Not boot prints, not tire marks, paw prints. Huge, deep, four-toed. You're being hunted. And the thing that made those tracks hasn't eaten yet. You stagger up, dizzy now, your breath short. You haven't even been here an hour, and already you can feel your body giving up. Your core temperature is dropping. You've stopped shivering, a sign that your body's natural defenses are failing. You've entered the red zone. Hypothermia is setting in. First comes confusion, then hallucinations. In the Paleolithic, death by cold wasn't rare, it was routine. And not just in winter. At night, temperatures plunged. If you couldn't make fire or find someone who could, you'd die in your sleep. Most children didn't make it to age 5. Elderly didn't exist. If you weren't useful, fast, strong, or lucky, you were dead. There are no thermal blankets, no help coming, no modern instincts that will save you. Everything your body relies on, clothing, climate control, comfort, is gone. You are not equipped for this world, not physically, not mentally. You are prey, and the Paleolithic is hungry. And even if you find a way to survive the cold, the hunger will. Your stomach growls, loud, but this isn't the kind of hunger you're used to. Not the mild discomfort between meals, not the type you can fix with a snack. This is something primal, something sharp, the kind of hunger that turns off higher thought and narrows your world to a single, gnawing truth. You are running out of time. There is no kitchen here, no grocery store, no dried meat, no fire-roasted roots, not even berries, nothing edible in sight. The snow-covered landscape offers no clues. You don't know which plants are poisonous. You don't even know where to look. You've never had to. Hunger in your world was a temporary inconvenience. Here, it's a death sentence. The average Paleolithic human burned over 4,000 calories a day just surviving. Running, hunting, carrying, building, climbing. You're already at a deficit. Your body is shivering to stay warm, burning through fat and sugar stores you didn't know you were losing. And there's no backup plan. No pantry, no emergency reserves. You spot a patch of dark berries under a branch. Finally, you rush toward it and stop. Because what if they're toxic? One wrong bite, and you could spend your last day vomiting into the dirt, too weak to stand. Paleolithic humans knew by memory. Generational memory, trial and error. You have none of that. The color looks wrong. The smell is bitter. So you keep walking. A rustle. You freeze. Your eyes scan the underbrush. There, movement. A rabbit. Maybe. You creep closer. It hops into view, small and fast. You lunge. Too slow. It's gone. And you've wasted more calories than that rabbit ever would have given you. This is the cruel math of hunger in the Paleolithic. Every action must earn its energy. Foraging is risky. Hunting is dangerous. Failure isn't disappointment, it's death. The average hunter-gatherer needed to succeed almost every day to stay alive. And they had tools, skills, a tribe. You have none. You stumble into a clearing and drop to your knees, exhausted. That's when you spot something in the snow. A trail. Blood. Not much, but enough. Drops, dark and fresh. You follow them, breath quickening. Ahead, a carcass, a deer, maybe, partially eaten. Rib cage exposed. Something tore it open and didn't finish. You rush forward. It's still warm. You press a hand against the flesh. You don't think. You just rip. Raw meat. Your body revolts. But hunger is stronger than revulsion. You bring it to your lips. Chew. Swallow. It's sinew and blood and cold fat. You gag, but you keep eating. You don't know what killed this animal. You don't care. But that changes quickly. A growl behind you. Deep, you turn. 2 yellow eyes in the tree line. Low, broad. The original killer has returned. A dire wolf. Or worse, a short-faced bear, easily capable of taking down a human with one swipe. You run. You leave the food. You leave everything. The hunger follows. This is what eating looks like in the Paleolithic. A gamble. Every meal is stolen from nature, from predators, from each other. There are no guarantees, and there are consequences for being too slow, too greedy, too loud. People died with meat in their mouths. People killed each other over scraps. And starvation wasn't rare. It was seasonal. Entire bands of humans would disappear in harsh winters. Their remains scattered and stripped by animals and scavengers. You stop under a tree, panting, dizzy. The adrenaline's gone now, and the gnawing inside returns, stronger. This is what real hunger does. It blurs your vision. It robs you of reason. It turns friends into competitors and strangers into enemies. It makes you hallucinate smells, hear things that aren't there. And if it goes long enough, it turns you into something else. Even the strongest Paleolithic humans struggled with this. And most had communities, knowledge, elders who knew which roots to boil and which mushrooms to avoid. You're a modern human in an ancient world. And this world does not care that you've never gutted a fish or eaten raw grubs from under a log. You don't know what it's like to crave protein so badly you'd chew a strip of leather or dig into the marrow of a bone for one last drop of fat. But now you're starting to understand. The ache in your stomach has become your heartbeat, and you've barely made it through a single day. But hunger is only one of the threats hunting you. Now, something else is watching, and it's faster than you, stronger than you, and it's hungry, too. The moment you entered the Paleolithic, you became a target. Not just for the cold, not just for hunger, but for the living nightmares that roam this world. Creatures that don't recognize you as anything special. You're not at the top of the food chain. You're not even in the middle. You are soft, slow, alone. You are prey. The first thing you learn is this: the wild is not empty. It breathes. It stalks. It listens. At first, you hear the low crunch of snow behind you. Stern. Nothing. Later, it's the rustle of dry grass 20 feet away. Then, a grunt. Not human. Lower. Thicker. Wet. And then you see it. A shadow at the tree line. Massive shoulders. Amber eyes. A long tail twitching in the underbrush. A cave lion, nearly twice the size of the modern African lion. No cage, no zoo, no tranquilizer darts. It steps forward, slowly, like it knows you have nowhere to run. You take off anyway. The chase isn't fair. You stumble. It glides. You wheeze. It waits, and just when it's about to strike, a crack of noise in the distance. A branch snaps. The lion vanishes. You've escaped. For now. But the message is clear. Out here, everything is hunting. Saber-toothed cats, dire wolves, short-faced bears, packs of hyenas the size of ponies. These aren't just exotic names from documentaries. These are the monsters of this era. They're fast, coordinated, efficient, and worst of all, used to killing humans. You crouched low in a shallow pit, trying to stay hidden. Your heart is thundering in your chest. You realize that even your scent, sweat, blood, fear could give you away. And that's when you hear something else. Not a predator, not an animal, a buzzing. You glance down at your foot. Blood, and covering the wound, flies, dozens of them, already laying eggs. The air is thick with the smell of rot. Bugs here don't just annoy, they infect. Your open cuts are invitations, parasites, worms, fever-bearing ticks, and you have no antibiotics, no clean bandages. The Paleolithic world doesn't kill you with just teeth and claws. It infects, it poisons. Every step you take risks a twisted ankle or an impaled foot. Every river you drink from might carry bacteria that your modern immune system has never encountered. Every cave might already be home to something bigger or someone more desperate. You find shelter under a rocky overhang as night falls, and this, you learn, is the most dangerous time of all, because predators own the night. They see in the dark. You don't. You hear footsteps around you, something sniffing. You press your back to the stone wall and clutch the jagged rock you picked up earlier. The only thing you have that resembles a weapon. It's not enough. A low growl echoes nearby, then silence, then two gleaming eyes. You don't sleep. You can't sleep. Every blink feels like a gamble. Every noise could be your last. And in this moment, the truth becomes painfully clear. You are not the hunter. You are not the explorer. You are not the survivor. You are the outsider in a world that has already decided you shouldn't be here. And everything in it, from microbes to monsters, wants to make sure you don't stay. You can't do this alone. But the only thing more dangerous than the animals out here might be the other humans. You're beginning to realize a truth that every Paleolithic human was born into. Survival is not a solo game. It never was. And in this world, being alone isn't just unfortunate. It's fatal. The cold won't care that you're hungry. The predators won't pity you. The disease won't wait. The only thing standing between you and death is people, other humans, a tribe, a group, a circle around a fire that says, you belong here for now. Without it, you are nothing but a target wearing skin. For days, you drift alone, cold, half-fed, sleep-deprived. You begin to forget what your own voice sounds like. You speak just to hear it. You hum to fill the silence. The weight of isolation bears down on you like another predator, quieter, more patient, but just as lethal. Then you see smoke. Not fire, but smoke. Wispy, gray, curling through the treetops. It's not lightning. It's not natural. People, your pulse spikes. Hope floods your chest like warmth. You pick up your pace, climbing a ridge with trembling legs. Then you see them. A clearing, a circle of figures, a fire, real, crackling, warm. They're eating something, meat. A few are sharpening tools. One child is drawing shapes in the dirt with a stick. You freeze behind the tree line and watch. They're dressed in layered hides, their faces smeared with mud and ash. Camouflage, tradition, or both. Your instinct is to run toward them, to shout, to drop to your knees and beg. But another part of you, the part that's learned quickly, says, wait, watch, because you're not a guest. You're a stranger, an intruder. And strangers are dangerous. You emerge slowly, hands raised, body low. You speak, but they don't respond. Or maybe they don't understand. One man stands, tall, spear in hand, the point aimed not at your feet, but your heart. He says something, a single word, sharp, quick. Everyone turns. Silence falls. You freeze. They don't look relieved. They don't look friendly. They look alert. To them, you might be sick. You might be cursed. You might be a scout for another band planning a raid. To them, you are a risk. In the Paleolithic, there are no treaties, no ID cards, no proof of good intentions. Tribes don't need evidence, they need instincts. And right now, theirs are screaming that you don't belong. But something happens. A woman steps forward, looks at your hands, sees the scabs, the bruises, the dirt under your nails. She says something to the others. It's not agreement, but it's not rejection. They nod, slowly, and you're allowed one step forward. That's it. One step. You inch closer. You sit at the outer ring of their fire. You're not offered food. You're not spoken to. But you are not killed. And in the Paleolithic, that is the beginning of mercy. Days pass. You mimic them. Watch how they move, how they share meat, how they tend to wounds with moss and ash. You copy. When they laugh, you laugh. When they work, you work. Your place is not earned in words. It is earned in silence, sweat, and not messing up. Because one mistake could mean exile, or worse. These tribes are small, 20, maybe 30 people, and each one matters. If you waste resources, you're a burden. If you eat more than you hunt, you're a thief. If you offend the wrong person, even accidentally, you might be left behind on the next migration. And if you think that wouldn't happen, look at the boy who hasn't spoken in days. The one who limps, dragging his leg. He's not by the fire anymore. You ask where he went. No one answers. You don't ask again. Even in the group, even with fire and food, you are not safe. You are being watched, constantly, judged. The elder sees how long you take to fetch water. The hunter notices that you slept in later than the others. The woman preparing skins catches you staring too long at the wrong object. And suddenly, you feel it, tension. A slow, invisible push toward the edge of the circle. You try harder. You carry more wood than before. You offer your scraps first. You don't speak unless spoken to. Slowly, something shifts. A child hands you a cracked bone tool. The elder grunts something short and approving. The hunter gives a nod instead of a glare. You're not one of them. You're not one of them. And then one night, someone hands you a share of meat before you ask. Not much, just a strip of charred sinew. You've been seen. Still, the line is thin. You are never truly secure. The Paleolithic tribe is not family. It is function. You are valued only as long as you produce. Injury, sickness, laziness. These are death sentences with no need for trials. There is no forgiveness carved into the bones of this society. But here's the truth. With them, you have a chance. Alone, you have none. Because in this world, the lone survivor is a myth. You don't thrive through strength. You don't win by wit. You live by loyalty and fear. And the moment the tribe turns on you, you'll know it. The silence, the stares, the space beside the fire that's no longer yours. And when that happens, you will walk back into the night, alone again. But even within the tribe, another threat is always lurking. One you can't run from, stab, or scare away. Because the next killer doesn't have claws. It starts from within. It starts with a cough, soft, wet. You barely notice it at first, just a tickle in your throat, a minor irritation. But by nightfall, you're doubled over in the dark, your ribs aching with every breath, mucus clogging your chest, sweat chilling your skin. Even as your forehead burns, something's wrong. And in this world, that means something deadly. There are no doctors here, no medicine, no elders with herbal poultices whispering prayers into steaming bowls. There's just you, the sickness and the fear, both yours and theirs. You don't know what you have. No one does. You might be carrying the flu, pneumonia, a staph infection from the cut on your ankle, or a parasite feasting inside your gut. Or maybe it's something far worse, a bacterial strain that your modern body has never encountered and never learned to fight. Whatever it is, it's spreading fast. The tribe senses it before you even speak. They hear the weakness in your breathing, see the sag in your shoulders, smell the sour change in your sweat. They don't need names for diseases. In the Paleolithic, symptoms are the only language sickness speaks, and everyone knows what they mean. You try to carry on, gather firewood, bring water, pretend, but you're slow, clumsy, your hands shake. You drop a basket of roots and no one offers to help. They're watching now, the same way they might watch a rotting animal on the edge of a kill site, warily, calculating, alert, because in a world, this raw disease is not an inconvenience. It's a predator. It spreads through touch, breath, blood. One sick person can mean the death of 5, and that makes you dangerous. At night, your spot near the fire shifts back. You're handed food last. When you fall asleep, you notice the space around you has widened. The subtle repositioning of bodies is not an accident. You don't blame them. Not really. You understand. Because disease has no mercy and no cure. A single infected wound can lead to sepsis in hours. Diarrhea from tainted water can dehydrate you to death in a day. Parasites infest your intestines, draining your energy. And they don't stop. There's no pause, no pill, no reprieve. You try to treat yourself. You remember some advice. Wash the wound, find clean water, rest. But there is no clean water. No sterile cloth, just snow, mud, and strips of bark. You chew a bitter root someone once said helps with fevers. It only makes you vomit. You lie awake, coughing into your hands. You pull your hood over your face, trying to stifle the sound. But they hear it anyway. A child moves away from you in the morning. A man refuses to take the bowl you pass. The elder says something short, sharp. You don't understand the words, but the meaning is clear. Leave. This is how exile begins. Quietly, without violence, without drama. One morning, the group simply moves, and you are not woken. You find yourself alone again, mouth dry, muscles aching, body burning from the inside out. You try to follow, but they've covered their tracks. And now, the real horror begins. The cough becomes a wheeze. The fever climbs. You hallucinate sound, rushing water, footsteps, voices calling your name. But no one is there. Your mouth fills with blood. You stagger toward a stream, drink without thinking. The water is brown. You don't care. You collapse beneath a tree, shivering uncontrollably, even as your skin feels like fire. You sleep. You wake. You lose time. Your body is in revolt, and the worst part, this could have been anything. You'll never know. Because in the Paleolithic, diseases had no names, only symptoms, only fear, and often death. You might survive. Paleolithic humans sometimes did. Their immune systems were built from countless childhood fevers and raw exposure to the elements. But you weren't raised in this world. You drank filtered water, slept on mattresses, sanitized your hands after touching doorknobs. Out here, your immune system is a joke. And even if your body manages to crawl back to life, the tribe won't. They won't take you back, because no one gambles with sickness. Not here. So now, you're not just sick, you're alone. And in the Paleolithic, that's usually the final stage. But let's say, somehow, you survive. Your fever breaks. You can walk again. Now you face your next test, warmth. And unless you've mastered a miracle lost to time, you're about to freeze to death anyway. It's night again. But unlike the night you're used to, there is no light pollution here. No electric glow on the horizon. No screen to cast a comforting blue against your skin. There is no visibility, only blackness. Not a peaceful darkness, but a suffocating one. A vast, silent pressure that folds over you like a burial shroud. The kind of dark that makes you forget your own shape. The cold returns with it, fiercer now, hungrier. You curl up beneath a slab of rock, your thin strip of animal hide clinging to you like wet paper. Your teeth chatter uncontrollably. You've stopped trying to warm your fingers. You know they're already too stiff to function. You hug yourself tighter, and your mind chants a single word again and again. Fire. In the modern world, fire is nothing. A switch, a stove, a button on a lighter. You've summoned flames hundreds of times without ever thinking about what that meant. But here, in the Paleolithic, fire is everything. It's heat, it's defense, it's cooking, it's companionship. It's the difference between surviving the night and becoming a frozen statue for the vultures to pick clean. And tonight, you have none. The tribe that abandoned you took their fire with them, their coals, their embers, their knowledge. Because fire, in this era, is not just a tool, it's a guarded secret. The ability to make fire wasn't something every human could do. It was a skill passed down, taught, practiced, protected. The fire starter wasn't just a role, it was power. You don't have power, you have desperation. You fumble in the dark, crawling on bleeding palms, searching for anything dry enough to burn. Your numb fingers find brittle grass, dead leaves, a scrap of bark. You pile it carefully. You find 2 stones, round, rough. You remember something about sparks. You bash them together, once, twice. Again, your hands slip. The stone slashes your palm. Blood smears the flint. Still no spark. You try the other method. Wood on wood. A bow drill. A spindle. Something. You twist a stick against another. It smokes. You breathe on it. It cools. You panic. You go faster. The stick snaps. You scream in frustration, but your voice is swallowed by the wind. There's no fire. There's no help. There's only night. And now you hear it, something in the brush. A crunch, then another, a low snort. Something large, slow, circling. You press your back to the stone and stare into the void. You can't see it, but it can see you. It can smell you. Without fire, you are just another animal. And in the Paleolithic, every animal smaller than the apex predator was fair game. You rock back and forth, trembling, your mind spiraling. You would trade anything, food, shelter, warmth, for one tiny flame. You'd give your future for 5 minutes of safety. But nothing comes. Hours pass. You begin to hallucinate. You see flickers of light in the trees, shapes that aren't there. Your breath slows. Your shivering stops. Not because you're warm, but because your body is giving up. It's no longer wasting energy trying to keep you alive. You've reached the final stage of hypothermia. This is how most died in the Paleolithic. Not from violence, not from disease, but from exposure. Quietly, alone, curled beneath a tree or rock, bones frozen solid by morning. Fire was the great divider, the line between survival and extinction. Tribes that mastered fire spread farther, hunted better, lived longer. Those who didn't vanished. And now you understand. You cannot invent fire in the middle of a Paleolithic night, because for all your knowledge, all your instincts, all your rage and willpower and endurance, it doesn't matter how smart you are. It doesn't matter how strong your legs are. Without fire, you are not a human being. You are meat waiting to die. And the night isn't over yet. But let's say you survive again. Dawn rises. The predator left. You're alive. Now comes the next problem. Humans. Not the friendly ones. Not your tribe. The others. And you don't even speak their language. You've made it to morning. Somehow, the cold didn't take you. The predator moved on. You're still breathing, but now, breath alone isn't enough. You need to find people, not to feel safe. That illusion is long gone. But because even a hostile tribe offers a better chance at survival than dying slowly under a frozen log. After hours of limping through brush, following faint trails of smoke and disturbed earth, you find them. Another group. 5, maybe 6 figures, crouched near a fire pit, surrounded by stones. You keep your distance this time. You remember what happened the last time you approached a tribe. But you also know something they don't. You don't belong anywhere, and you don't speak anyone's language. You wait until one of them looks up. You raise your hands, slowly, palms open. You take a single step forward and say something soft, cautious, a greeting. But the moment you speak, they recoil. They don't understand your words, but it's more than that. The cadence, the shape of your mouth, the pitch. Everything about you is wrong. Foreign. To them, language isn't just communication. It's identity. And right now, you have none. The Paleolithic didn't have universal languages. It didn't even have what we'd call language yet. Communication was rooted in shared experience, guttural sounds, hand signals, patterns of rhythm and tone. Even within the same region, neighboring groups might not understand each other. Words were born in isolation. There was no writing, no preservation, just oral sounds evolving one campfire at a time. You try gestures, you point to your mouth, mimic eating, you mimic drinking, you kneel, you open your arms, you show submission. But their eyes stay hard. One of them lifts a weapon. The others rise. Their stances shift. It's not just confusion now, it's fear. You've seen this before. In animals. In people under stress. Fear, when mixed with misunderstanding, becomes violence. You try to back away, but the damage is done. You said the wrong thing, or made the wrong gesture, or wore the wrong piece of hide, maybe a color that marks you as an enemy. Maybe your very silence is taken as deception. This is the Paleolithic, and nuance is a luxury the brain doesn't yet afford. You run before they decide to chase you. Back into the brush. Back into the cold. Back into the silence. Now you're beginning to understand the real horror of this era. It's not just the predators, or the disease, or the cold. It's the loneliness that comes from being truly misunderstood. You're not just isolated physically, you are mentally severed. Every cry for help comes out wrong. Every gesture could be misread. Every sound from your mouth is a potential trigger. You realize that without language, you're not human here. Not to them. You're an animal, grunting and fumbling at the edges of their perception. A threat, a ghost, a mistake, and it cuts deeper than fear. It becomes psychological. Days pass, and you speak to no one. You try talking to yourself, just to hear a voice, but even your own words begin to feel foreign. You're forgetting what certain phrases mean. You question the sounds you make. Your brain, deprived of interaction, starts to crumble inward. In the Paleolithic, language wasn't just about talking, it was bonding. It meant passing down stories, naming children, warning others of danger, dreaming out loud. You had to be able to communicate to earn your place. You had to listen to the wind in someone's voice and know what it meant. Without that ability, without the subtlety of breath and tone and ancient rhythm, you can't participate, you can't belong, you can't survive. So you begin to drift again, silent, expressionless, a shadow among shadows. You learn to mimic bird calls to avoid being seen. You grunt back at animals just to hear yourself exist. But you are a ghost now, living among a species that sees you. Not as kin, but as a strange, babbling creature they'd rather forget. You had one chance to connect, and your words became your executioner. And now, as you walk further into the wilderness, something else becomes clear. You're not just defenseless because you can't speak. You're defenseless because you're unarmed. And this is a world built entirely around tools. You walk with open hands, not because you choose to, but because you have to. You have no spear, no axe, no knife. You are naked in the most fundamental sense, exposed, empty, and unequipped in a world that was forged entirely around the sharp edge of stone. Here, everything is a weapon. Every survival task, from skinning meat to defending your food to protecting your body, requires tools and not just crude, broken sticks. The Paleolithic human was a craftsman. They shaped their reality from flint and bone. They knew how to split rock with precision, how to nap sharp edges, how to build composite weapons, binding stone points to wooden shafts with sinew and resin. A single spear wasn't just a stick with a rock. It was engineering. You have none of that. You crouch beneath a tree, searching the earth for anything sharp enough to cut with. You find a stone, smooth, worthless. You throw it aside, another, jagged. You test it. It cuts your palm open. Not helpful. You're bleeding again. The blood draws flies. The flies attract more dangerous things. Paleolithic humans learned to read stones. You never did. To them, a flake of obsidian meant the ability to butcher an animal, defend a child, claim territory. To you, it's just a rock. You finally manage to piece together a crude club, a fallen branch with one heavy end. You swing it against a stump. It shatters. Too brittle, too wet, too weak. The Paleolithic doesn't wait for trial and error. There are no second chances. A failed weapon means death, not just for you, but for anyone who relies on you. Now imagine trying to hunt. You see a wild boar. It hasn't noticed you yet. Its hide is thick. Its tusks are lethal. You could use its meat, its bones, its fat if you could kill it. But how? You throw a rock, miss. The boar hears it, snorts, and charges. You barely escape, diving into a ditch as it thunders past. You could have died in seconds. You never stood a chance. Because killing in this era requires more than aggression. It requires technology. The best tribes in the Paleolithic developed advanced hunting tools, throwing spears, atlatls, stone axes, flint knives, and eventually even primitive bows. These weren't accessories, they were essential. With them, a group could take down mammoths, aurochs, elk. Without them, you were left to chase rabbits and rodents with your hands and die trying. You crouch by a stream later that day. You're starving. You see a fish, big, slow. You strike at it with a stick. It darts away. Okay? Miss. Again. Miss. This would have been easy if you had a spear. You don't. So you drink instead. Hope it tides you over. But even that's a risk, because you don't have a blade to carve a container. No way to boil water. No way to create fire. No way to shape your world into anything more than what nature already allows. Even the idea of shelter is weaponized. Paleolithic humans built defensive shelters, caves with guarded entrances, lean-tos angled against predators, fire pits ringed with spears. You have a hole in the ground and a rock to throw. You see a group in the distance one evening, another tribe. They are armed. Each member carries something lethal. Spears slung over shoulders, bone daggers on waistbands. You consider approaching. Maybe they'll let you stay. But then you remember you have nothing to offer. No tool, no weapon, no proof that you are useful. They will not see you as a companion. They will see you as a scavenger, a beggar, maybe even a spy. You keep your distance, and the silence deepens. In the Paleolithic, power wasn't in your size, or your strength, or even your speed. It was in your tools. The person with fire-starting knowledge was valuable. The one who shaped weapons was respected. The best hunters weren't always the fastest. They were the best armed. And you, with your empty hands and bleeding palms, are neither. So you keep walking, unarmed, untrusted, unfed. Even the animals know. You've seen it in their eyes. They're cautious until they realize you're not holding anything. Then they move closer. Because in this world, the only thing more pathetic than prey is prey that forgot how to make a weapon. And if the animals don't kill you, and your lack of tools doesn't doom you, something else still might. Because not all dangers here growl in the dark. Some smile, some look human, and some are even worse. By now, you've seen the cold. You've felt the hunger. You've run from predators and curled in the dark with nothing but fear for warmth. But none of that compares to what comes next. Because the deadliest creature in the Paleolithic walks on two legs. You see them before they see you. At least you think you do. A group, not your tribe. Not the ones you left behind. These people are leaner, quieter, less clothed. Their skin is smeared with mud and ash. Their hair matted into clumps. They carry no fire, no food, only weapons, jagged spears, bone clubs, obsidian blades strapped to their hips. You drop behind a rock and pray they didn't notice. In the modern world, danger from strangers is rare. We pass hundreds of people every day without fear. But in the Paleolithic, strangers are always a threat. There is no neutral party. No casual meeting when two human groups encounter each other. In this era, one question pulses beneath every glance. Do you have something I want? And worse, can I take it from you? You watch them for hours. They don't hunt. They don't gather. They move like wolves, silently, deliberately, always scanning. These are not survivors. They're opportunists. You've heard of them already. Whispered rumors shared in fragments by the tribe you once sat near. Bands who don't build fires, who don't sleep in circles, who take what they need from others. You thought the wild was dangerous. But nothing in the forest is as cold, calculating, or cruel as a human with nothing to lose. You make a mistake. A branch underfoot. It snaps, heads turn. They saw you. You run, instantly, without looking back. You sprint through the trees, lungs burning, heart slamming against your ribs. But they don't chase like animals. They follow, slowly, carefully. They know the land better than you do. They don't need to run. They just need to wait. By sunset, you haven't seen them again, but you know they're there. You hear their footfalls behind your own. You smell the sweat on the wind. You don't sleep that night. You don't dare. The next morning, you find your hiding place compromised. A pile of stones moved. A trail of ash where there was none before, a warning. You understand now. They're playing with you, testing you, maybe deciding if you're worth the effort, maybe deciding if you're alone. They don't want a fair fight. They want to catch you. These aren't the storybook ancestors you learned about. They aren't noble hunters or stoic elders. They are desperate, brutal, and efficient. This is what humanity looked like before law, before consequence. And in that vacuum, morality does not exist. Cannibalism isn't a story. It's survival. If food runs out and your tribe weakens, you don't waste protein. Murder, if you're in the way or even look like a threat, your life is forfeit. Slavery, yes, in its oldest, rawest form. You might not be killed. You might be kept, bound, beaten, used. You wouldn't be the first, and no one will come looking for you. You remember the look in their eyes, that hollow, unblinking calculation. You've seen it before, in wolves, in bears, in a moment before a strike, but it's different when it's a human, because they know they're not acting on instinct. You move on, carefully, quietly. Every shape in the trees now looks like a silhouette. Every shadow feels like it's watching you. And here's the terrifying truth. It might be. Because the Paleolithic was not just about surviving nature. It was about surviving each other. There were no laws, no tribes united under flags, no shared values or agreements. There was no Geneva Convention, no common language, no treaties. There was only need. It's sometimes you are the need. So you keep moving, sleep less, eat less. You learn to hide better. You learn to stay unseen, because the animals will chase you to eat. But humans, they'll chase you for reasons worse than hunger, and they'll enjoy it. But even if you avoid them, even if you outrun the wolves and sidestep the blades, there's still one final thing that might kill you. Not the wild, not the hunger, not the violence, but your own mind as it begins to break. You survived the cold, the hunger, the predators, the sickness. You've endured exile, run from violent humans, and lived without fire. Against all odds, you're still breathing. But now, something else is happening. Something worse. Your mind is beginning to split. At first, it's subtle. You forget how long it's been. Days blur into one another. You lose track of time because time here means nothing. No clocks, no weeks, no names for the days. Just dawn, dusk, and the long frozen in between. Then come the thoughts, quiet at first. What if no one is real? What if I'm the only one left? What if I never make it back? Heal. Start talking to yourself, whispering under your breath to feel less alone. Sometimes you answer back, pretending someone is there. You invent a voice, a name, a companion. You need to call because silence has become a predator of its own. Modern humans don't do well in isolation. We're social creatures, evolved to communicate, to collaborate, to share emotions through words, touch, expression. But now, you're stripped of all of it. Every comforting structure of your old world, friends, language, safety, is gone, and it's breaking you. You begin to hear things, footsteps that aren't there, breathing behind you when you sleep. Laughter in the trees. You start to see things, shapes in the fog. Eyes in the rocks. A flicker of movement just beyond the edge of your vision. Always just beyond. Your dreams turn violent. You wake up screaming. You don't remember why. The stress is constant. It's not like fear in the modern world, a spike of adrenaline during a near miss. This is fear as a baseline, fear as a daily condition, a low, endless hum that poisons your thoughts, sharpens your instincts, and wears down your mind like sandpaper on bone. You try to eat, your hands shake. You try to sleep, you jolt awake at every sound. You try to rest, but rest doesn't come anymore. There's no space for hope here. Hope is a luxury of people with plans, with futures, with tomorrows. You only have now. You only have survival, and even that fading. You start to lose language. Words feel clumsy in your mouth. Sentences trail off. You stop trying to explain things, even to yourself. What's the point? Emotion becomes a blur. Joy is gone. Laughter is foreign. Even fear dulls into numbness. You stop feeling. You become mechanical. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Your humanity is fading. This is what happens when the modern mind is dropped into a primal world. We weren't made for this anymore. Not mentally, not spiritually. Our ancestors were. They were born into it, hardened by it, raised on it. But you're soft clay in a world of stone. And here's the final cruelty of the Paleolithic. Even if you physically survive it, it doesn't mean you come out whole. You might emerge skinny, filthy, frostbitten, alive. But your mind your identity, yourself, gone. Because the Paleolithic doesn't just test the body, it erodes the soul. Day after day, moment by moment, it strips away everything you thought made you human. Until you're something else, something quieter, something colder, something ancient. You no longer fear death. You don't even recognize it. It's just the next part of the cycle. And if someone were to find you now, dirty, distant, silent, they wouldn't know who you once were, because neither would you. So after everything, the cold, the starvation, the predators, the isolation, you've made it through. But what's left of you isn't the same. And now it's time to step back and ask the final question. Would you survive the Paleolithic era? You made it, or rather, something resembling you did. Because the Paleolithic era doesn't just challenge the body, it rewrites it. It doesn't just hurt the mind, it hollows it. Everything you thought made you a functioning human in the modern world has been stripped away. Your language, your memory, your warmth, your comfort, your identity. This was not a world made for you. It was a world made by the bones of those who managed, barely, to endure it. And even they didn't do it alone. The ones who lived, they were born into it. They were surrounded by tribes, taught by blood, armed by necessity, hardened by an environment that offered nothing and demanded everything. You were dropped into it unprepared. And now, after days of running, hiding, starving, shivering, and losing pieces of yourself one breath at a time, you understand something that textbooks can't teach. You wouldn't survive. Not because you're weak, not because you're soft, but because you're modern. Everything that makes your life possible today, from communication to medicine to warmth and order, didn't exist back then. And without it, we are fragile creatures clinging to borrowed time in a world that never wanted us. So, no, you wouldn't last 3 days in the Paleolithic. And that's exactly why you're here now, because they did. If this journey opened your eyes to just how brutal the beginnings of humanity really were, if it made you feel the cold, the hunger, and the fear, then do one thing our ancestors never could: share it. Like this video. Subscribe for more immersive time travel experiences through the eras that shaped us and nearly destroyed us. And tell us in the comments, which era do you think you could survive? Because the next one might be even worse.